Hello and welcome. We are doing another look with the Moonlit Seduction palette from Pat McGrath Labs today here on my channel for my week of Moonlit Seduction. I want to be doing something with the bronze and this delicious gold over here today, and as I mentioned also in my previous video, I feel extremely constricted by these two mattes, so I am going to be pulling out for another matte eyeshadow today. I am going to be using my beloved Statuesque single from Pat McGrath Labs because I just feel like it fits perfectly with this palette, but for the rest we're going to stick to the Mothership 10. I will zoom you in a second and we're just going to do a quick little look. I'm going to apply Statuesque to my crease, Extreme Nocturne. I think I want to smudge Extreme Nocturne a little bit like in the base of my lashes just to create a little bit of depth there without really going too dramatic with that. And then I'm going to apply this shade on my lid, I think, and I want to use this one a bit as a topper. And then for my inner corner again, I'm undecided whether I want to do something straightforward and boring or do something a little bit more fun, so we will just see how it goes last minute. Before we do that though, I don't know whether any of you remember the legendary eyeshadow from Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Pink Champagne, this one here. Ever since I saw this new palette from Pat, I've been very curious to swatch Pink Champagne next to the eyeshadow from Pat. So we're going to do that, and I can already tell you just visually looking at them, the one from ABH is so much more of a cool toned pink, and the one from Pat almost looks like it has like a golden champagne flip to it. So here you have Pink Champagne and here you have the shade from Pat. Interesting, if I look at them it almost doesn't seem like that's the case, but let's give them a swatch. Pink Champagne, legendary eyeshadow from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and the new shade from the Moonlit Seduction palette, this is the shade Blitz Venus. Interesting. They're quite similar. I think the shade from Pat is just a touch warmer, and I think in certain lighting it will probably have that sort of like golden champagne flip to it, but other than that the two shadows are actually quite similar to each other. I have to be totally honest with you though, my personal preference goes to the Pat McGrath eyeshadow because it is a little bit warmer. The shade from Anastasia Beverly Hills is gorgeous and it's like a cult classic. I almost want to keep it because it's like a piece of makeup history, but it is definitely 100% a little too cool toned for my skin. I don't know if anyone was interested in that comparison, but you know, just in case you were. And another comparison that I think might be interesting to do, I think I missed doing that in my original video, is the shade that is the Gold Allure, this one here, the one that we're going to use today, kind of reminded me a little bit of the Astral Gold Allure, I think it's called, from the Iconic Illumination quad. So let me do that comparison for you as well. I think the shade from the new palette is slightly more yellow in a way. The one from Iconic Illumination has more champagne tones. So Mothership 10, Iconic Illumination, yeah, the new one is a little bit warmer compared to Iconic Illumination. But let's see how they swatch, because sometimes in a swatch you can't really tell the difference as much. Yeah, definitely the new one is a tad warmer. This one is a bit more like a silvery champagne gold, and this is more of like a true champagne gold. Alright, my curiosity has been satisfied and now I'm really going to zoom you into the look. Grabbing Statuesque to put through my crease. I know a lot of you have this shade and love this shade, but for those of you who do not and you enjoy Pat McGrath makeup, I highly recommend picking this single up. It is a very useful eyeshadow, as I have come to find out throughout the years that I have owned it, and I can guarantee you it's going to make your life so much easier whenever you struggle with all the plums that Pat puts in her palettes. You can just pull out for this one instead, and you don't have to like reach into a whole other palette in order to grab a nice transition-y brown. And also this one is I don't know, it has very neutral tones. It's like the perfect like sculpting shade. I don't know how else to describe it. A lot of her other shades tend to be a bit warm, a bit reddish, or quite, you know, yellow toned, maybe even too cool toned. And this one is like so perfectly balanced and so neutral that I feel like nothing even within her own collection really compares to this eyeshadow, and I'm surprised that she has never put it in an eyeshadow palette. If you wanted to just stick to this palette, you could substitute Statuesque with the shade Rosewood Romantique, this one here, but fair warning, I think it's just going to make the look so much more rosier than you were going for if you were going for something a little bit more neutral. Now I'm going to take my little pencil brush. This one is just from Zoeva, a really old one from Zoeva. And I'm going to go into the shade Extreme Nocturne. And what I want to do with this shade is I kind of want to work it here close to my lashes, making it a little thicker as I go out towards my outer corner and almost like winging it out. And then applying it even closer to the lashes as I go inwards. So this is just going to create sort of like a bit more definition in your lash line and a little bit more of like that smokiness. And once you go here in your outer corner, just like do very light feather line strokes to bring in a little bit of that dark shade inwards like this. Now I'm going to grab my Artistry wand again, which is sort of a glitter glue in a stick form. If you don't have this, just use glitter glue or don't use glitter glue, whatever floats your boat, honestly. And I'm going to apply that onto the lid. Next I'm going to grab this shade, which is like a very neutral bronzy brown shade. It's more bronzy than it is brown, but I detect like a little bit of like brownish tones to it. It's beautifully neutral toned, like neutral to cool toned. So if you are not a fan of the warm bronzes, then you're really going to like this shade. Well, if you wanted a nice subtle look, I think this is absolutely gorgeous. Now for this next part, I am actually going to take a little shader brush. You can apply this shade dry. I'm going into the shade Gold Lust Allure, like this. And I think it already looks really beautiful like this. But I'm very, very curious what will happen if I wet my brush. So I'm going to take this shade on a brush like this, and I'm going to take a little bit of my Fix Plus and I'm going to spritz the brush, and that's going to create a much more wet lid effect. Can you see that? You don't have to do that, but I really wanted to see how the shade is going to look like if I wet it. Honestly, these Astral shades behave very much like her original baked Astral shades, which makes me very happy because I've been very bummed out that the Blitz and the VR formula are so different. This is beautiful. Obviously, you can go as glamour or less glamour as you wish. I'm going pretty glamour because I don't really know when to stop. And as you can see, you don't really see that much of that like dark shadow anymore here in the lashes. You kind of see a dark shadow emerging from underneath, and that is a little bit the effect that I was going for. Now, inner corners. I'm hesitating a little bit between Blitz Venus and the beautiful purpley shade, and I'll be honest with you, I kind of want to put the purpley shade. I know we did that yesterday, but I really want to do it again today. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this eyeshadow and pop it into the inner corners, and I think it will look so pretty together with the gold. On my lower lash line, I'm actually going to keep it quite simple. I'm just going to take a little bit of Extreme Nocturne and run that right here. And the outer corner of the eye is almost going to look like, you know, that shape that Natasha Denona really likes. She puts like a very blocky, like dark eyeshadow. She actually starts her looks like this, which is very interesting, with this shape, and I quite actually like it. So we're going kind of for that shape that Natasha Denona likes to do. It's ironic that we're doing it with Pat McGrath eyeshadows, but... And on the rest of my lower lashes, I'm going to take a little bit of this bronze shade. I think the shade Bronze Devotion. Yes, and then I'm going to spritz my brush, so it's just a little bit easier to paint on the shade onto my lower lash line, so that it doesn't, the flakes don't go all over my actual eyeball. Let's try the artificial light as well, so that you can see how sparkly that Astral Gold shade is. This look might have taken a slightly more dramatic turn than I was anticipating, but I think the reason for that is Extreme Nocturne gets pretty dark pretty fast, so I think I should have gone a bit more light-handed for the original idea that I had for this look, but then I went the Natasha Denona direction and this shade just made things worse. So now we're at a much more dramatic version of this look than I originally had planned. But if you wanted to keep it very simple, you wouldn't even have to go into Extreme Nocturne. You could just grab Statuesque or whatever really brown shade, even your bronzer that you can put through your crease, and then just put Bronze Devotion and then a few flakes of this gold shade over top of that. And if you wanted to keep it neutral, you could just take this Skin Tense Glow shade in order to keep it maybe a bit more office friendly. But honestly, the feeling that I'm getting with this palette so far, this is the most neutral eyeshadow palette that I have ever worked with from Pat McGrath, with the exception of VR Sextasy, which of course is a very striking, very foiled duochrome shade. The rest of these shades, even though some of them are quite glam in terms of their texture, they are very, very subtle in terms of their tones. We've seen bronze shades, we've seen gold shades, we've even seen like champagne pinks from Pat McGrath before, but I feel like those are the most neutral versions, neutral to cool versions that she has ever given us. So I am getting a very neutral like feeling from this palette so far. If all of the other motherships were very scary for you because they all have some sort of a pop of color, a lot of these like glittery duochromes, and you wanted something that is very toned down in terms of tones but still Pat McGrath, probably this palette would be something that you would enjoy. And something else that has been like crossing my mind for the past 24 hours is this palette is giving me modern Renaissance, like ABH modern Renaissance vibes. Do you guys remember ABH modern Renaissance? This is like the more glamorous Pat McGrath version of that palette, because that palette also was like a bit more on like the maroony pinky side, and it had much less striking versions of like a light pink and a light gold and like a bronzy shade. I'm getting modern Renaissance vibes, you guys, and I think that's one of the reasons I am unsure about this palette, because I bought modern Renaissance and I really wanted to convince myself that I like it, but in the end I found out that it really isn't my tones. And I think what contributes a lot to me having this feeling with this palette is obviously the two matte shades, specifically the Plum Cabaret shade, because modern Renaissance was filled with these sort of eyeshadows, and I think that was the palette that really showed me that these tones do not suit me at all. But I think sans these two mattes, I like this palette far more than I like modern Renaissance. But yeah, those are the two things that I just wanted to comment on as we go along. I'm getting very neutral tones, neutral to cool tones, which I think we all anticipated, and I'm getting a little bit of modern Renaissance vibes. I don't know, would you guys say that? I think that for a lot of you, modern Renaissance is something that you've either not thought about in 100 years, or you may not even have ever owned modern Renaissance. So a lot of you will probably think more in the direction of the retro palette from Natasha Denona. I don't have that palette, so I cannot draw that conclusion. But if we're talking old school, I would say this palette reminds me a lot of Modern Renaissance by ABH. I hope you enjoyed this makeup look. Let me know what you thought about it, and I will see you in the next one. Which FYI, I might have to skip a day because I'm not sure that I will have time to film tomorrow. I have to like go out really early, and I'm not really an early bird. If I manage, I manage. If I don't, I'll come back on Wednesday to do another look with you. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Bye!